Hello everyone, I'm here with Erwin Szeto, Mr. Hamilton, and Rain has just announced at the Acre event that Hamilton is Ontario's new top town. So you've finally overtaken KWC, and as the resident expert in Hamilton, I wanted to just take the time to ask you a few questions on what's going on there. So maybe you could tell us, what are some of the things that are going on in Hamilton?
So one of the major things when it comes to residential real estate investing is you want to know what the transportation improvements are. So we talk generally about GO Train, GO Train being a major one. So in the short term, the major thing that happened with GO Train is that they're increasing the number of trains going to the downtown station from Union Station from 8 trains a day to about 1 hourly, so a total of about 20 trains a day. Further in the future, we're looking at a second station in Hamilton at the James North, where the Laguna station is right now, which is formerly a CN station. Okay. So the infrastructure exists, but they still need to build all the facilities meant for a commuter train.
Great, so that's bringing Toronto closer to Hamilton and kind of linking some people, because we measure time in minutes rather than distance, right?
And part of that line is also connecting Toronto, Hamilton, and that line is supposed to go all the way to Niagara Falls. So you're actually bringing Niagara Falls closer to Hamilton as well.
Great.
And so one of the major things about that area is James North is it's part of the West Harbour. West Harbour is some of the nicest lakefront property in Hamilton. And if you follow lakefront property in the GTA, you know, it's all gone pretty expensive. You know, look at Toronto, the beach, Oakville downtown, Burlington downtown, all the values have skyrocketed. Yet Hamilton still remains very affordable. Yeah. Other transportation improvements on the same line from Union Station to Niagara Falls would be another station in Hamilton at Centennial Parkway. And there'll be another one along Grimsby, and there'll be another one in St. Catharines.
Okay, so they're extending that whole line even further around into Niagara.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And if it ever happens, the LRT, Light Rail Transit, which is like an above-ground subway basically, that's supposed to happen after the Pan Am Games, so we're looking around 2016.
Okay.
And that will have stations at McMaster, downtown, very close to the GO station, the existing downtown GO train station, and another one at Eastgate Square.
Okay.
So
with you mentioned the Pan Am Games, what's going on with that, and what are some of the projects that Hamilton has underway? Because those are a big driver over the next, I guess, 2 or 3 years, right?
That's correct. So LRT was originally planned to happen before Pan Am Games, but you know, politicians, they're arguing about their location and whatnot. So the original plan was to have the stadium in West Harbour, which would have been ideal. But now what the new plan is they're basically tearing down half of Ivor Wynne and renovating the whole Ivor Wynne Stadium, and that will be the location of the new Pan Am Stadium.
Okay.
And that's the major development related to Pan Am Games, which is happening in 2015.
Okay, and so that's already bringing some jobs. I mean, that's not a major long-term thing, but it's a good short-term project. And have you seen any impact in values in that specific area already?
I've seen some what I think are speculative buys already. People buying up multifamily properties around the stadium. So that's probably a good sign, because the stadium is already in an area that's rather low income.
Yep.
So hopefully the renovation of Ivor Wynne will create more jobs, create more investment opportunities for like street level retail, more multifamily, things like that. And hopefully maybe even an LRT station.
Cool. So another question I wanted to ask you were, what are some of your favorite neighborhoods in Hamilton? So Hamilton's a big area, and like some of the other top cities, it has some regions which are really good to invest in and others that you probably want to stay away from.
That's right. So it really depends on what the investor's strategy is to determine what area they should be investing in. So for many people, if it's a single family home, they want something that's lower risk, a highly liquid piece of real estate, so a nice single-family home. We look at the Hamilton Mountain and Stony Creek Mountain, okay, usually close to the Lincoln Alexander Parkway. And the nice thing about the link, what the locals call the link, is it's connected to the Red Hill Expressway, which opened up only 3 years ago. A very major transportation improvement that made the whole Hamilton Mountain much more accessible.
Okay, and along that Red Hill, that's a recent example of a transportation improvement. Is there a lot of growth along there? Like, do you see more development now that what is it? The QEW is linked with the Lincoln Alexander.
The QEW link connects to the Red Hill, which connects to the Lincoln Alexander. And right at the intersection of the Red Hill and Lincoln Alexander Parkway is the new Red Hill Business Park,
Okay.
which is a major growth area for jobs. So two of the major stories is Canada Bread Company is closing down 3 of their facilities in Toronto, consolidating them all into one facility on the Hamilton Mountain. And so we're talking about 300 manufacturing jobs, high-paying jobs,
Great.
and around 250 construction jobs in the short term. And also, there is a new solar panel manufacturing facility going into the Red Hill Business Park.
Okay.
So
there's
lots
a lot,
of jobs come to the area.
So there's a lot going on, not just with Pan Am Games. There's also construction companies moving in
lots
to
of
Hamilton.
jobs.
And then what's happening with the economy there? Because most people know Hamilton as a steel town, right? And they think that it's very dependent on the ups and downs of the steel industry. So is there a lot more going on with McMaster and some of the medical type jobs? Like what's moving into the city?
So medical type jobs, what most people don't understand about Hamilton is that the number one employer in Hamilton is actually Hamilton Health Sciences.
Okay.
So the
Not Stelco.
not Stelco, not Dofasco, but the steel industry is still a large part of the economy, somewhere around 14% of the economy in Hamilton, whereas Hamilton Health Sciences, healthcare in general, slightly outpaces that in
Great.
terms of employment.
Okay, so and that's kind of a trend. It's still picking up and still growing.
That's right. If you've been following the headlines, McMaster has been they've been on the forefront of health science and research, and they're also partnering with the government and the city at a facility at an area called McMaster Innovation Park, where they're bringing in high-end research, engineers, scientist jobs. For example, CanMet opened up their facility just recently. What it is a high-end think tank, basically, for research and development of the steel industry. What happened is they moved their location from Ottawa to Hamilton, which makes a lot of sense, being a steel town.
Yeah.
And we're talking about 110 jobs. But over 90% of them are like engineers and scientists.
And those are all high-paying jobs, and those people, when they move in, need to rent. Right?
That's right.
Okay.
So they're going to influence the real estate market.
Okay. And then, what are some of the areas on the other side? You mentioned that on top of the mountain is good for single-family housing. What are some of the areas that you'd stay away from? What are some of the rough patches that might not be ready for investors to jump in yet?
It really is. It can almost be street to street specific, but as a general guideline, I generally don't look at properties north of Cannon in the lower,
Okay.
north of Cannon. It's because you're just getting too close to industrial areas, and you're attracting a lower income level of tenant, which so you may be looking at more headaches, and you're looking at people who are on disability and welfare types of tenants. So if that's your tenant profile, then that works for you.
Yeah, there's always a trade-off between the cash flow and how much management hassle you're going to have.
That's exactly it. So if people who look for cheap properties, they're looking in the areas that I generally stay away from.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, as we learn at Rain here, it's not all about price. There's a lot more to consider.
That's right.
And generally we're looking for cash flow. So the cash flow can be good compared to the price, but we want something that's going to suit our lifestyle and our objectives. So I guess
and potential for a long-term appreciation is probably higher around these areas of transportation improvement that I mentioned.
yeah, and that's definitely going to drive the values. We look for things that are going to push the values upward.
That's right.
Okay, so thanks for answering a few questions that investors might have. You're also a realtor, right, in Hamilton?
Yes, that's right. I focus. I only work with investors, and I only focus on investment real estate in Hamilton.
Okay, so how can people contact you if they wanted to get a hold of you and pick your brain a little further?
The easiest way is to start here.
MrHamilton.ca?
That's right.
Okay, great. So if anyone has any more questions for Erwin about Hamilton, MrHamilton.ca, I'm sure would be happy to help. Thanks very much.
Happy to. Thank you, Andrew.